Ever notice how less talented people get more attention than you? The real reason that you're invisible has nothing to do with your skill. We're in a moment where almost anyone can produce content that looks good. AI can write the script, tools can generate the edit, tutorials can teach you the structure. So being able to make something is no longer rare, but being able to make something that feels like it comes from you still is. I think that difference is going to become everything. What's starting to disappear isn't skill, it's distinction. A lot of creative work now looks similar. It's well lit, well paced, well structured, but it doesn't feel like it belongs to anyone in particular. It's largely the same language spoken by different people. So if your work feels like that, there's a reason it's not landing. And it's not that you're not good enough, it's that there's nothing specific enough in it for people to recognise you with. We're moving into a world, or are already in a world, where people don't choose work based on quality alone anymore. They might be asking, even subconsciously, does this feel like someone I understand? Does this feel like someone I trust? And you can substitute someone for point of view. Is this a point of view that I understand? Do I trust it? Does it feel like my truth? And if the answer is no, even good work becomes forgettable. A lot of people are going to assume the solution is to make better content. But what even is better content? If it's more cinematic, is it better? If it's more succinct, is it better? If it's presented as this YAP format, is it better? You can improve your execution, you can improve your editing, your camera work, your writing, and still remain invisible. None of this answers that real question, what do you actually believe? Interestingly, it's not the same as what's correct. It's not what's trending. We don't want to be sharing a trendy view. It has to be what is ours. And that's where I see a lot of creative work breaking down. It's technically competent and emotionally neutral. It doesn't push anything. It doesn't stand for anything. And it doesn't risk disagreement. This is completely forgettable. Maybe it's even baffling. Have you seen this ad where it's a really good emotional storyline, incredible story, and then somehow a car brand is crowbarring itself into the last frame, and you're like, what? And that's becoming its own little cliche, isn't it? The strongest work today doesn't come from neutrality. It comes from positioning. Having a point of view that filters everything you make does something quite important. It decides who your work is for, and, just importantly, who it's not for. This is why some brands and creators grow a loyal following without being, the best technically. They're not competing on polish. They're competing on stance, on clarity of stance. With culture brands, we see it everywhere. Bandit Running didn't carve out a fiercely loyal following just by trying to out-tech Nike, Hoka, On, or Adidas. Those giants are selling these metrics, recovery science, mass market wellness. Bandit built a point of view around what running actually feels like. A raw, unfiltered, city-grounded, crew-driven vibe. No elite sponsorships, no data-obsessed marketing. Just this concrete community and a rejection of that sanitized running industrial complex. This stance doesn't appeal to everyone, and it's not supposed to. It's magnetized a specific tribe that felt alienated by this beautifully sweatless, clean, corporate feeling fitness machine. And it's the same with liquid death in the beverage aisle. Water has got to be the most commoditized product on earth, but they took a hard POV. Anti-plastic, anti-wellness pretension, this pro-punk energy. They deliberately repelled that clean aesthetic crowd to attract the exact people who wanted something that felt alive. They didn't win by being better winner. They won fully enough by having a clearer position. And in water language, that's surprisingly unique. Some brands don't win by being better. They win by being clearer about what they are. They represent something specific enough that people can either recognize themselves in it or reject it completely. Both those outcomes are very useful. Ambiguity is what kills attention. Most people avoid having a strong point of view because it feels limiting. In practice, it does the complete opposite. It creates gravity. It turns your work from something that people are going to scroll past into something that people react to, because now there's something to agree with or push against. So we're getting somewhere now. The question we want to be asking ourselves and thinking quite deeply on is, what is my work saying that only I could say? Or if on the brand side, what can only this brand say? If the answer is unclear, then you'll likely find everything else, the portfolio, the Instagram, the website will feel quite unclear too. These are all expressions of the same thing. And this is why some people can be incredibly capable and still feel completely invisible. Nothing in the work is acting as a signal. It's just output, and there's nothing that interesting. Especially in a world where output is becoming quite cheap. It's just not enough anymore. If you're wondering how to have a point of view, that's a whole other video, so let me know if you want me to make that one. But just to lightly cover it, it's not going to come from sitting around and reading, learning, and trying to be original. It's going to come from what you've actually experienced. So these will be the things that you notice, the things you disagree with, the way you see work that doesn't sit right with you. That's usually where it starts. So then overall, the goal isn't to become louder. It's not to produce more, despite what all the gurus are saying. Posting 500 times a day apparently is the new thing to be doing.
You must create, I want you to hear this, 100 to 500 clips and post them organically every week.
Blanket of slop is still a blanket of slop. No one is going to be more likely to buy from you just because you've 1,000 paper cuts them to making a purchase. The goal is to become decisive, to let your taste, your opinions, your experiences, and your reactions shape what you make into something that feels unmistakably like you, even if it divides opinion, especially if it does. People don't follow perfect work that looks like it might. Short Stash's work feels perfect, right? I say that people follow work that feels authored. You can see his hand crafting that work that carries a recognisable way of seeing the world. That's unmistakably Short Stash. You've no doubt heard this before, but once we stop trying to appeal to everyone, we start attracting the people that we want. The opportunities, the clients, the collaborators, those who already think like us. A point of view is your moat in this AI age. Skills the floor, taste is the ceiling, but POV is the door. I love that rhymes. What I'm looking for is what makes someone stop scrolling, lean in and say, finally, someone gets it. You don't find it by optimizing for reach. You find it by living, failing, adapting, and then saying what you actually believe out loud. The work will follow, the right people will follow, and the rest will finally stop pretending that they were ever going to in the first place. Imagine if the people that followed you, not just for what you know, but for how you think. I think that's the 2026 strategy.